That time I got reincarnated as a demon lord, English, by LordedoMal44. O5 Savior. I enfolded Cabal's hands with my body. From the startled look of the other two and the way they looked at me, I'd say they thought I'd dissolve him and devour him right away or something, wouldn't you? I mean, I'm a slime, so that's what you'd expect. And you're right. That's what you expect from a slime. But this is not the case. I'm not the normal type of slime, and I would feel bad if I dissolved a man like that. It doesn't matter if I want a human form, I wouldn't win it in a cowardly way.
Is that? I hadn't stored the large amounts of hippocoot grass for no reason. Just as the sage told me, I used my unique skill Predator to infuse the hippocoot extract with magicules and turn it into a healing potion classified as a higher level potion by the great sage. I didn't have a potion container and wasn't interested in letting the three of them know about it, so it was necessary to put Cabal's hands inside me for the potion application. I could see the surprise on everyone's faces when they noticed that the wounds on his hands were gone instead of getting bigger. Of course, that was what a person should expect from me, wasn't it? I'm the slime that ate the corpse of a dragon. If I had all that power and I couldn't heal the injured and needy man in front of me, then what good would it be?
Less than notice. The Rimuru Tempest individual has no healing skills or spells in his arsenal. The responsible for the potion was the potion applied to the wound cure. Greater than. Yes, but who made the potion using the unique skill, Predator? Who so generously applied a high-level healing potion to that wounded man? Tell me, am I or am I not a good Samaritan? Less than. Greater than. I've seen that winning the friendship of this skill will not be an easy thing, is it? What do you want from me? Well, it doesn't matter. We'll have plenty of time to become friends, great sage. Less than. Greater than. Ah, the cure is over, so what's missing is...
I tore my gaze away from Cabal, who had sat down as the pain he felt had passed, and let my eyes find what I was looking for. Bingo. The Cabal's sword, which was in his hands when that black serpent's venomous attack hit his hands, was there on the ground next to him. To be honest, I don't even know if we could still call the thing a sword since it had melted and could barely keep its shape, but that didn't matter at the moment.
I could just abandon them and my conscience would remain clear. I mean, I already saved his hands, didn't I? Isn't that enough? Humans, always asking for more and more. Well, I saved them, but if they died on the way back to their city because they were unarmed, no other adventurers would know about me, and thus the number of times I would be attacked for mistaking my fluffy slime form for an evil slime would increase. Let's do one more little favor for these silly humans. I wrapped the molten sword in the ground, which startled the trio, but I continued to ignore them. I had a slight idea of what I should do, but I had to concentrate so that I could do one part while leaving the rest to great sage. Less than activate unique skill, Predator, yes, no, greater than. I thought a strong, yes, and imagined what had to happen, doing some light calculations inside my mind to confirm that everything would be all right. First of all, I devoured the steel sword that had melted, using Predator synthesis to separate the sword's poison and steel. So, based on all the knowledge I had of swords, which came more from manga than anything else, I reconstructed the shape of the sword back to its original greatsword. I added a small amount of magic steel and, forming magic lines across the sword using magic steel, I tried to improve the conduction of the magicules along the sword while leaving everything else to great sage. A beautiful sword, with a red handle and a shining blade, was the result of my efforts. The glistening blade was the result of lines made from magical steel that helped to make the magicules circulate inside the sword's steel. And the coolest thing about it all, as well as the weirdest thing, was that there was an aura that permeated the blade of the sword. Great sage, that was your alteration, wasn't it? What did you do? Less than answer. Using the black serpent's poison breath magicules that were present within the sword's steel, an infusion of compatible magicules was possible within the complementary magic steel used to compensate for the material loss. As a result, a light, corrosive aura effect was bound to the sword. Greater than.
Ho, isn't that a great effect? I can easily imagine this being some kind of demon sword used by one of a demon king's knights or something. Where did you get that idea from, great sage?
Less than answer. The idea was removed from a text present in the memories of the individual Rimuru Tempest, entitled, Manga, greater than.
Ho ho. A manga, isn't it? Really? I know I'm in a fantasy world right now and all, but a manga might contain information to create a magic sword of this level. This seems more like a joke to me, but I won't question it. Great Sage isn't the type to joke around anyway, so it's a waste of time to question. If he says he took it from the manga, then. Hoo. I see you've been tricked, haven't you, Great Sage? Seems like not even you can tell what they really are, no.
Less than. Greater than these are not mere manga. They're the sacred texts. They're something that was entrusted to me a long time ago and I should keep them, you know. That's why my memories were altered, so even people with the power to read minds wouldn't know what they are. But, now I can tell you. That they are. The accumulated wisdom of other worlds. Less than. Greater than I tried to strike an arm up pose, but all I had was a tiny tentacle, and because of that, this scene could only be said to be embarrassing. Well, since I'm in another world I decided to hug my Chuyunibyo for good. So it wasn't the most embarrassing pose of my entire life, but a well-placed and necessary dramatic pose in scenes like this. Less than understood. Changing the designation of the files entitled mangas to sacred texts, and changing the level of importance of said texts. Downloading information. Process concluded. Initiate testing of all information linked to all sacred texts. Compatible with the individual? Yes. No, greater than. I could feel that Great Sage was using parallel processing to try to apply some of the manga's knowledge to the magiculas around me, but I didn't try to stop him.
I had already managed to convince him that manga were sacred texts, there was no way I could tell him that I had just lied. That would be too embarrassing, even if Great Sage was just a skill. And besides, if information from a manga had turned out to be useful, then it could be quite useful to know what else was compatible with that world.
I wonder how its authors would feel if they knew that some of the things they wrote could be real. I wondered that as I started to jump away, not paying attention to the trio of adventurers behind me. They had started making noises about the repaired sword, something about keeping it as a treasure, and I could have sworn I saw the girl in the group, who I admitted to finding a cute elf, in a crying state as she held out her staff in my direction and asked to do something for her staff.
Well, I ignored the three and started walking towards the tunnel the black serpent was in before I devoured it. I collected the stone wall I used to protect the trio so that the magic steel used wouldn't go to waste there. Predator could easily separate the two materials, so he wouldn't have to waste them leaving him behind.
How boring. I was hoping there would be better fights, but I think that's what I should expect.
I had faced some monsters on my way in search of the cave exit. Some of these monsters were strong, others were too weak for me to even consider, but above that was the fact that none seemed to be as strong or stronger than the black serpent from before. That basically means I haven't been able to have a real fight so far. Well, that's the bad thing about starting a game by killing the boss. Great Sage. List everything I gained from the monsters I defeated. Less than understood. The monsters absorbed were a rank A black serpent, a rank B armosaurus, a rank B plus evil centipede, a rank B black spider and a rank C plus giant bat. Greater than.
Less than intrinsic skills that have been acquired include
sensitivity to sources of heat, poison breath, body armor, paralyzing breath, spider steel silk, sticky spider silk, drain, ultrasonic waves. Some are more compatible with the body slime used by the user than others. Greater than. And that's it. I was thinking of a way to use these skills as best I could, but there are some skills among them that are practically inferior versions of mine. Among the skills I got from the giant bat, drain is an example. This skill allows me to drain 70% of my target's skills and use them for a short period of time. Draining is useless. I can utilize my unique skill, Predator, for the same with 100% of my target's skills and appearance. But, well, I'll try to find a way to use the skill. It would be a waste not to. As I thought about it, a first flash of light appeared in my field of vision. Undoubtedly, this was sunlight, I could feel it, but of course, having clairvoyance, the limit to which my vision reached was much greater than normal and did not depend on just one point of view. This allows me to see the cave's exit as if it were straight ahead, even though I was still far from the exit. Freedom. Finally I will be able to reach the outside world. I'm dying to scare some humans out there. Yes, maybe I had turned into a monster in my heart, or I just remembered the Chunabu days, but in part 1 really wanted to see how humans would react to my presence. I studied the ultrasonic waves, giant bat skill for a while, and I think I might be able to speak in an understanding way, so it should be possible to communicate. How I'm going to treat humans then will just depend on how humans will treat me. And with that in mind, I took my first steps out of the cave. What greeted me outside was a dense forest of tall trees, worthy of being the sight surrounding the lair of such a powerful dragon. I figured this might be a good place to make a castle in case I became a demon king. If the surrounding forest is transformed into a grove full of ferocious, wandering monsters, I imagine names like Deathwood or Doomwood might be nice. And so, if the hero could get through the forest and the monsters in it, the one he would have to face next would be me, who owns the place, inside my castle. Ha, that would be a good picture. Oh sure, I'll leave that option for after I've discarded the idea of being the sword hero. Ignoring my thoughts, which were clearly just a joke as I could barely hold a sword, I continued walking through this forest. One and another tree, here and there, and the image repeated itself. I expected to find one or more monsters in this place as the aura of the dragon that had died in the cave seemed to still be present in this place. Other than it was a forest in a fantasy world, there must have been monsters, but none appeared near me. It's almost like the monsters are avoiding me. Despite that, I refused to give up. If I can't find a good mount, how could I become a sword hero? A dragon is a good option, but I doubt I'd find dragons that easily, and besides, if a dragon in this world is as strong as that guy, then I can't expect to have any chance of even thinking about defeating them. Well, at least not for now. So if I start at the bottom of the mighty list, it would be Wolf. But where could I find a wall? Stop right there. Oh mighty. Looking ahead, I noticed that a small group of monsters were trying to stop my progress. The entire group consisted of about 30 members. They're actually as common in fantasy stories as slime is, and now that I was in a fantasy world, I think it's only natural that I encounter them. Ah, yes, I almost forgot to mention it, but the group I'm referring to are goblins. Oh mighty. Say what you want in this part of the forest. I stared at the one who seemed to be the leader, who was the one talking to me. He wore a red cloth covering his hair, which reminded me of the typical image of a bandit, and I could only guess that from the rusted state of the weapons, their weapons had been stolen from adventurers or bandits who had been defeated by another monster within the forest, which is not bad. I imagine these weapons aren't something goblins can do alone. In fact, if I focus a little on the state these goblins are in, I could easily see how weak they are. Their bodies were thin, they had a lack of muscle that you would expect from a monster struggling to survive every day. Their weapons and clothes were frayed, and if the look of fear on their faces wasn't enough, their bodies were shaking, at which point I doubted the goblins had a chance to fight, said they were weak and terrified.
And all this was because I was just a slime. Imagine if I was something bigger? Of course, I would not fail to take advantage of the opportunity. I won't let the skinny guys in front of me underestimate me just for being a good slime. Ho, so you have the courage to raise your voices against me? And even present your weapons for combat? I said this trying to sound even more menacing than usual, not that I was menacing in the first place since I'm a slime. It seemed to work considering the goblins were so scared that their weapons fell to the ground. Well, at least I didn't say it loud enough to make them deaf. When I was in my training to be able to speak, my voice knocked some rocks inside the cave and I almost ended up burying myself inside the cave, which would kill me and the adventurers.
Of course, I have more control over my skills now than I did when I started training, a few hours ago, and I imagine that's because of Great Sage attached to my mind and making me learn faster. At least now I wouldn't have to worry about someone going deaf from an accident caused by my voice being too loud. Well, back to scary mode. Looks like I'm going to have to put you goblins in your place. Please forgive us for our rudeness. We beg your pardon. The leader of the small squad cried out, seeming to be in a very deep fear, his legs losing support and his knees touching the ground, without the strength for him to try to get up. None of the goblins seemed to have the intention or the strength to put up a resistance or speak. They didn't seem to be trying to trick me or anything, at least, but had they really lost all their fighting spirit over those words? Like, In front of a cute little slime. Really? Ha. I feel kind of bad now. I guess I must look like one of the delinquents who keep threatening colleagues for money, like in my old world. A part of me really wanted the goblins to rise up and fight me. This was due to my selfishness, at least a little, as goblins probably have the same sets of senses as a human, so they would have a sense of taste. Of course, I wouldn't care to know the taste of the snake, the spider, or any other monster I'd eaten so far, but I had hoped that there would be good food in another world, and I don't intend to give up my ability to feed on the delicacies that must be out there. Well, if they don't want to fight, I won't fight. After all, I'm not some kind of barbarian. If I did something like that, attacking monsters who have no desire to fight me, I would feel bad. Okay. I'll forgive them this time. You can raise your heads, you don't need formalities with a person like me. The goblins shook their heads hastily, fear and gratitude written all over their faces. They had really lost all their fighting spirit without any kind of effort on my part, just words and a little bit of acting, which made me question how strong the goblins of this world were. I mean, I'm a slime, aren't I? One of the weakest monsters in an RPG or fantasy story, and yet they surrendered so easily. Of course, I was confident that in a battle, even if the 30 goblins faced me together, I would still be able to beat them, but theoretically they shouldn't know that. And then, silence fell over us. The goblins had gotten up, but they were still scared enough to not be able to say anything and just give me an uncomfortable look, which indicated that they had something to say but didn't know how. Why is it that slimes in this world cause fear? Ha! How hard it is to do your best to look like a cool monster. So, do you guys need something? Why are you blocking my way? Ah, yes. The leader seemed to snap out of his stunned state when he heard me speak, finally remembering why he had come here. He looked at me, fear a little less apparent in his expression though still present. That's why our village is ahead. The moment we felt its powerful demonic aura, we had no choice but to come check who it was. Demonic aura. I didn't feel any kind of audacity. In fact, I don't even know what this demonic aura is really supposed to be. Great sage, can magical perception help to see what this demonic aura he's talking about is? If you can, help. I want to see the powerful aura, please. Perhaps, even though I felt I was properly using magical perception, I still didn't have it in a mastered state. After all, I had just learned it. Despite walking this far, I had been unable to feel or see this aura I was being told about. Again, I would be in danger all the time for not knowing what was lurking around me. And then, to my surprise, I saw that great sage change my field of vision, rotating the point of view I saw so that my eyes were facing myself. In the next second, the image of me, a small, fluffy blue slime, was enveloped in dark purple hues by an aura that was, as the goblins said, demonic, at best. The goblins looked like they wanted to say something, but I ignored them and admired my own aura. It wasn't that I was a vain person, but I thought an aura like that could come in very handy someday, if it could be used for something. Despite that, now she wasn't helping. Less than want to hide the monstrous aura. Yes. No. Greater than. I didn't hesitate to shout. Yes. Out loud. But, oh, we thank you, our savior.